What is going on, folks? Riddick here, and today we're going to talk about my sequel idea to Halloween 4. So here we go. A few years ago, I had wrote a treatment, so to speak, for a sequel idea to Halloween 4. Now, the computer I wrote it on has since took a gigantic shit, and I don't have access to it, but I'd still remember how I had it go. Maybe some fine details I can't remember, but I know pretty much how I was going with it. So, hear me out on this. Here we go. My idea for where the franchise could go. It could go many different ways. The anthology route, which is always a popular idea. I don't know how popular it is, but I guess to the fans, like us hardcore fans, it's popular, right? But here's an idea, because I know Halloween 4 is very popular amongst the fans as well. And I think Danielle Harris deserves to have her time in the sun. She was fine as Annie in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. But I think she deserves that spotlight of being the lead and getting her just due after the way she was done dirty with Halloween 6. And I really just believe that she deserves that because she's one of my favorites in the franchise by far. So here's my idea, okay? At the end of Halloween 4, we see Jamie at the top of the steps. Unexpected, just killed her stepmother, foster mother, whatever you want to call her. Dr. Loomis is screaming, no! No! That's the last image we see from Halloween 4. And then we cut forward 30 years, 40 years later, whatever it is, and we see that now Jamie, we don't see it, like actually see it. I don't want this to be a visual you see in the movie, but for a lot of the years that were between Halloween 4 and this sequel, she spent at Smith's Grove because obviously she went crazy. At the end of 4, everybody was there. It's not like she got away from them. Dr. Loomis was right there with a gun on her. So it's not like she got away from anybody at the end of the movie. And we're going to say that she actually did kill her foster mother, not just like whatever happened. I don't know if she actually killed her if they said that in part 5. I don't think so. I don't think she actually died. But we're going to say that she actually did, okay? And she spent a large amount of time in Smith's Grove because of this. However, now, what we will see is that she's back out in society, and we know that she was in there, but we don't see that she was in there. I don't want to see that she was in there. That's too much information. But the beginning of the movie tells us that she, just through the dialogue of the movie, we find out that she has just gotten out because she's now, reformed, and she's been pretty much reformed, right? So she gets out. And she's trying to start her life again. And it's a dramatic thing. She's trying to get back on her feet. She's trying to start her life again. She doesn't have friends or even family for that matter. She may have some, but we're going to get to that. Of course, who picks her up and brings her home? Rachel. Yes, Rachel has to come back. So Rachel picks her up, brings her home. She's, obviously an older woman now. And we see that Jamie's trying to get back on her feet. We follow her through these trials and tribulations. But as we're following her on her journey to try to get back in, back out in the world and to be a civilian again, so forth and so on, all of a sudden, murders start happening around the town. Now, there's a couple instances where we see these murders happen, but we don't see the killer's face. We don't see the killer's face at all. And most of what we do see of the killer, not only is it in shadows, but it's from like chest down, sometimes only waist down. We don't see anything from like here up. Nothing from here up. See none of it. We barely get any glimpses. We don't get any close-ups of hands because we don't want to say that it's Michael or anything like that. Okay? Michael Myers fans are probably going to be hating me for this fucking movie as much as they hated Halloween Ends. I have no idea, but hear me out here. So maybe even the hands have gloves, okay, which is fine. black gloves, whatever. But we don't see anything, just from stomach down at the most, okay? Waist down to stomach down. That's the most we see of this killer, and it's always in shadow. And then, of course, like when there's a kill happening, maybe you'll see the hand come up with a weapon or whatever is the case, right? So that you can see the actual event happen. But we never actually see the killer, okay? But from what we see, we're like, oh, well, this is clearly probably Michael Myers, but we don't ever see that it's Michael Myers. We just let our minds think that or go there, so to speak. Now, through all this, Jamie is this is not what she needs, right? This is not what she needs in her life when she's trying to get back on her feet. Rachel's freaking out because of all this happening again. They don't have Dr. Loomis to run to anymore. Nope. And so maybe there's a new doctor. We don't know. I haven't really kind of filled those blanks in. If I want there to be a new doctor that goes and chases after this killer, maybe there is. I haven't really worked that out yet, so keep that in mind. But obviously they can't run to Dr. Loomis. He's gone. Jamie is all distraught that these murders are happening. She's sort of having visions, and I don't mean like Halloween 5 shit, but she's kind of having visions of the killing, right, of the killings. And they're not quite what we see, like us as the viewer, as what we saw the actual murder happen. What she's seeing in her mind is a little bit different, but it's kind of just replaying what she heard in the news or whatever in her own head. So as the movie goes on, she starts to build up this desire to want to find this killer and end this because she doesn't want to deal with this. And she just went through all this stuff, spent years in the sanitarium to get her life back, and now this. So she wants to go out there and try to stop this from happening. And Rachel doesn't want her to. Rachel wants to leave it up to the authorities, to the Haddonfield Police Department, all that stuff, which are on the case. They're trying to figure it out. They're going from murder to murder, going over what the details are. They're wondering, could it be like Michael Myers is returning? Kind of like how Halloween Ends started, where the people were like, oh, could it be Michael? I already had that idea before I even knew about Halloween Ends, like, at all, because this was years ago, 3-4 years ago I wrote this, by the way. So I already had that idea about the cops are checking on the murders, and they're kind of, oh, is Michael back? And it's kind of similar to what Michael used to do, but he can't be because, put him down the freaking mine shaft or wherever the hell he fell into. Through all that, Jamie tries to go out and solve things herself, and she can't quite figure out why she's having trouble with that. Rachel's trying to help her along the way, even though she was resistant at first. She knows she ain't going to be able to stop her, so she might as well try to help. And things just aren't adding up. And then we have moments where Rachel's looking for Jamie, and Jamie's nowhere to be found, but then she does pop up kind of out of nowhere. And she's, very apologetic for being, like, she was here, or she was doing whatever. She doesn't remember where she was at, or she says she had a blackout, or whatever the hell the case may be, right? And then we start to see a few more of the kills. Like I said, there's some off-screen ones. We're only going to see the killer from the waist down, stomach down at most, until we get to, like, the third act. That's when we're going to start peeling away the curtain. Because by the time we get to the third act, all this stuff has happened around the town. Everybody's distraught. Everybody thinks they know what's going on. And then, in a very Sixth Sense kind of way, we reveal that this whole time, Jamie has been the killer, and that her whole, like, the blackouts and stuff and whatnot, turns out that she's actually been the killer this whole time. And she's got, like, a mask. It's not the Michael Myers mask, but it is more of a female, maybe, kind of version of a Michael Myers mask. I don't know how we make that. I know Dawn Post made one at one point, and it looks absolutely horrifying. But I wouldn't use that one. I would kind of maybe, create something new and do something with it there. Some kind of thing like that, right? And we see that she has been the one doing all the killing and the blackouts and stuff. And that's what that's all about, and why she couldn't put two and two together or piece this together. And she's battling with herself. And Rachel is the one to first discover that she is, the killer. And then in a very emotional scene, she kills Rachel in a very slow, agonizing way that just will break your heart into a million pieces. I don't know how we do it, but that's how I see that happening. And that way, Rachel, she's been through the whole movie at this point, gets a real emotional death compared to that god-awful, ridiculous ho-hum shit that went on in Halloween 5. Now she's dying by the hands of Jamie, who not only kills her foster mother when she was 8, but now kills her foster sister all these years later, to kind of bring it full circle, so to speak. And then, in classic Halloween fashion, when the police figure this out and they cannot believe what's going on, they do what they can. And maybe it's this new doctor. I haven't decided if we're going to have a new doctor or if we're just going to have like the sheriff or one of the police officers really be like the focal point as far as authority is concerned, that ultimately get into a battle with her. And pretty much not the same thing as like at the end of Halloween when he falls off the balcony, but maybe something different happens where she is taken out and lands somewhere, and we see her, maybe not off a balcony, maybe off a porch or something like that. And the officers are at one end of the house that they came through the house, and at the other end of the house out by the street, they're about to come through the house. So the officer that was at the back porch that took her out, and she's laying there, right? He goes back through the house to get them, to bring them back there. And when they do, she's gone. And then, of course, we see the scenes from the neighborhood. And we don't necessarily hear breathing, because I don't really want to do that. I don't want to be like completely mimic Michael Myers here, because in my idea of how she's a killer is not necessarily mimicking Michael Myers. Yeah, we'll have like a female Myers mask, so to speak, but it won't be anything like the Michael. It won't be, just a carbon copy of a Michael Myers mask and have it be female. There's ideas you can work with. So we're not going to do that, and it'll be like maybe different kind of clothes, not necessarily just work coveralls. Maybe it'll be something different there. Not have it be exactly the same. Maybe similar, so that when you have just those shots of the waist down and all that stuff, that you could say, well, maybe it is Michael. He's back, maybe, right? Even though they're wearing gloves or something to kind of hide the fact that the hands are not going to be the same. They're not going to be burnt and all that stuff. At least enough that you would say, well, it could be Michael. But then we realize by the end of the movie, it was Jamie, and a doctor or a police officer, whatever is the main authority figure here, takes her out, seemingly, and then she's gone at the end of the movie. Okay? And then we see the scenes from the neighborhood, and then we cut to the credits, and then it leaves. You could make sequels after that. You could, which I'll talk about in a second. But I really think you could just leave that open, because that brings it all full circle, that evil never dies, and we went from what happened from Halloween 1 to Halloween 4, and now we're wrapping it up like this. So you could just end it there. But, of course, everybody's going to want to see a sequel, right? So in the sequel, you're going to know that she's the killer now. But we're not going to stay in Haddonfield, folks. Nope, we're leaving Haddonfield. If we have to go to a sequel, we're leaving Haddonfield, because she's still able to function in the real world, even though she's got this split personality thing going on. And I just want to point out that it's kind of like that movie Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro, right? Where the whole movie, you think there's this other person, but it's just Robert De Niro the whole time. It's kind of in that vein. It's kind of in the Sixth Sense vein of the reveal, and in the vein of that movie with Robert De Niro, which is very much where I drew a lot of inspiration of how we could do this. Not quite the same, obviously, but drew inspiration from that for sure. But in the sequel, she moves to another town, just casually, like nothing's going on, moves to another town. Almost like, in the movie The Stepfather, he's done and he just moves to the next town and moves on to the next one, right? But she moves to, you know what I mean, not actually going to do it like The Stepfather, but she moves to another town. And yes, maybe she does change her hair color. Maybe she does change up the way she looks a little bit, right? And begins to live like normal life almost with a boy. Maybe she gets a boyfriend, or maybe she has a family that we see like, whoa, she just did all this and these people are absolutely oblivious to it. And she has a family. Who knows what's going on? Or she gets involved in something that you would never imagine. Like, wow, she did all this crazy shit. And now she's like just living a normal life. And nobody realizes it. But of course, she's went far away to a whole different town. Changed her name, whatever, changed up her look, things like this. And then we could build little bits and pieces through that movie. And we actually can see, like her kind of just go into this mindset of, wow, she's like really nice to these people, but then she wants to kill them for some reason. And we don't know why. There's never an explanation why, by the way. We don't want there to be an explanation. We just want it to be what it is and wonder why. That's the best part about it. And then you could go and have her, kind of build it up and then maybe do another third movie to make it a trilogy. But I don't think you need to do that. I think just the one movie after 4 that I originally wrote is good enough. But if you had to do another one, because then you would have 4, 5, 6... not the original 5 and 6, but my 5 and 6, you would have 3 movies there, and that would technically be a trilogy. So, I think just the one movie is good, but if you had to do a sequel, that's where I would go. I'd have her move to another town, and then ultimately, maybe by the end of that movie, she succumbs to something that takes her out, so to speak. But I really think, like, that would give her her own focal point in these movies, and allow her to shine, because that would be some stuff to really work with for her, I think. Straddling the line of she's a killer, but she's also good at the same time. Really multiple personality type shit, where when she is good and she's acting and being good, you actually genuinely believe that she is good and that she's acting and being good, and it's not an act, that she actually is that way. And she believes that she's that way. But then when the little devil on her shoulder on this side takes over, the switch flips, and it's a completely different person. I think that there's potential there, okay? This makes it fresh. This makes it different than what we've been doing. Now, of course, they tried to do a little bit of this in Halloween Ends, but Corey didn't have multiple personalities or anything like that. So they tried to do it a little bit in Halloween Ends, but here you wouldn't have Michael Myers in the movie at all. You would never see him. Just, you would think maybe it's him, right? Like I said, you would think maybe it's him. But you would never see him. So we wouldn't have Michael Myers in this movie. And it wouldn't be like a secret that he's not in the movie necessarily. Like, I would never market this movie as Michael Myers is in this movie. I would cut the trailer in a way that you see that this is not about Michael Myers, but it's about Jamie's life after leaving the sanitarium and whatnot, right? So I definitely would not market it as a Michael Myers movie. This way, people going into it wouldn't be completely bamboozled by what ends up actually happening. So that's my idea for a sequel to Halloween 4 and where I think the franchise could go. I think it's a good idea. I don't know. Most people will probably think it's dog shit because a lot of people just want Michael Myers slashing all day, every day. And that's fine, too. But I think if you wanted to go a fresh, different direction, have it make sense, and have it be like a powerful story, then I think this is a great way to go. Jump off from part 4, and you have this story with Jamie. It gives Danielle Harris something really deep to dive into and a lot of character traits to play off of and work with and really sink her teeth into with the different aspects of her character, having these 2 sides to her, right? Sides that she's not even really aware of. Like I said, kind of in that same vein as Robert De Niro in Hide and Seek, where he doesn't really realize that he's this. He actually believes he's this, but then when he's the bad, so forth and so on. You know what I mean? I think there's something to do with that, and I think that would be a great way to just freshen things up. You're not telling people Michael Myers are in it. You're not even selling it like that. You're selling it as Jamie's story after what happened in Halloween 4, and something in the town starts to go wrong, and we don't know why, but of course we find out why by the end of the movie. So there's my idea for the sequel to Halloween 4 and where I would like the franchise to go now, moving forward, right? So yeah, that's it. Tell me what you think down below. I mean, you can tell me it's dog shit. I don't care. I really don't care because it's my story and I like it. So you can shit on it all you want. It don't matter to me. It's absolutely your opinion and you're entitled to it. So feel free to. But yeah, just let me know what you think about it and I think people keep saying they want something fresh and new, right? But they still want shit from the past and they still want fresh and new. So I feel like this is a great way to take some shit from the past that I know a lot of the fans love in Danielle Harris and Halloween 4, but take it into the future with something fresh and different, a different, fresh approach to this in this manner. Mind you, I also wanted to point out before we get out of here that she does have a bit of a supernatural element to her, much like Michael did. We don't know what that is. We don't know how that is, but that gives her the upper hand when in peril, so to speak. Okay? So when she's really tapped into her dark side, there is a little bit of that supernatural element about her that you're not really sure what's going on here. You know, like I don't know. There's all kinds of ways you could take it, but that's just my summary of it. That's all I got to say. That said, catch you all down the road.
When darkness falls, you enter a new dimension in terror.